It's the middle of the season, so today I'm going to be predicting what the AFL ladder will look like at the end of the season. Who will be first? I think we all know who's last, though. Let's just get straight into it.
And taking out the wooden spoon, I have North Melbourne. They just play a really ugly brand of footy. They might not even win a game this season. Like, a lot of people saying, oh yeah, of course, they'll win one. Which one? Like, they don't have winnable games. North Melbourne, they're losing. They're the wooden spoon. They have never been in a worse spot as a footy club.
In 17th, I have the Richmond Tigers. Richmond, they've showed some fight over their last couple games against Essendon and Geelong at the Cattery, which was really impressive for the first half. They were leading by 16 points at the halftime break. But their injury list, there's another suspected ACL, and that's another season out. The injuries, they're too many, they're too long, they're a new coach, they're a rebuilding side. They'll get a couple more wins, I think. They'll probably win against North, like everyone will. But yeah, 17th for the Tigers. In 15th place, I have West Coast Eagles. I had them originally 16th place. I originally had them in 15th place, but after seeing them play against the Saints, I don't think they have the experience necessary to make the leap from what they finished last year in the wooden spoon and to finish 15th. I know it sounds crazy, it's only a few positions, but I don't think they'll overtake who I actually have in 15th, which is the St Kilda Saints. Now, I know Mason Wood was incredible against the Eagles, and he could really find his way in that key forward position, but they just play such a dull brand of footy, on par with North. They do have skill and experience, which is why they're in 15th, not 16th or 17th. But I can't see them being definitely not a top 8 side like last year. They're not even a 13th average side there. They're really a bottom 4 side nowadays, and I hate to say this because the Saints, I like them a lot. They're not my favourite team, but they're all right, and I think they're just going to finish 15th. They'll have a dull year. Ross Lyon, he really needs to get to work on them. He doesn't have the talent that he had in 2015 with Freo. In 14th, I have the Brisbane Lions. Now, this might be a little bit controversial, seeing as they're last year's grand finalists and still have a lot of their talent, but I have not seen anything from them this year. They beat Melbourne at the MCG, which was really, I think that might have been like a one-off sort of thing, a little bit of an upset, but I haven't seen anything substantial. They lost to Hawthorn. They drew against Adelaide. These are teams they should be beating convincingly if they were grand finalists again. Or even just top 8 sides. They should be beating these sides. But yeah, Brisbane in 14th sounds about right to me. In 13th, I have the Adelaide Crows. Adelaide, they play really well at Adelaide Oval, and they're a force to be reckoned with there with their forward line of Walker. I know Rankin's out at the moment, but he's really good. Fogarty as well. They got a good forward line. Dawson in the midfield. But they just can't win away, especially not at the MCG. The loss against the Hawks this week was really telling, and I think they're going to finish 13th, just above Brisbane. I could see them going, either way, Brisbane 13th, Brisbane 14th, Adelaide 14th, Adelaide 13th. Really finicky, but I'm just going to go with Adelaide above Brisbane, because they've looked really good at Adelaide Oval this year. In 12th, I have the Western Bulldogs. Yes, they just beat Collingwood, and they have some really good, strong, tall forwards. Ugle-Hagan, Sam Darcy, all those guys. Norton's going to be back eventually, but I just think they're too inconsistent to get a good year. They were losing against Hawthorn, then they beat Richmond, then they lost against the Swans, they beat Collingwood. They just can't seem to be consistent with their results, and that's why they're going to finish 12th, in my opinion. In 11th place, I have the Hawthorn Hawks. They've been playing some really good, exciting footy over the last 6 weeks. They've won, I can't remember, I think 4 or 5 out of the last 7 or something like that. But they've been playing really well. They should have won against Port, but they played too defensively in the final quarter. But yeah, they've been getting some good wins on the board, and they've been playing some exciting footy. I feel like maybe next year or the year after they could be really in finals. I think Sam Mitchell is a really underrated coach. He's been coaching the Hawks really well, and they've got some good young talent and some really good experience like Gunston and who was the other guy? Sicily, sorry. Yeah, and their young talent, Will Day, Ginnivan. I feel like we could be seeing some big things from the Hawks in the next few years, and I'm really excited to see that. In 10th place, I have the Fremantle Dockers. I know there's been a lot of slack on Justin Longmuir, but I think he's playing a good brand of footy. They've made themselves known as a defensive, handballing team. I feel like Pearce in the backline has been brilliant this year. Sarong has been racking up loads of touches in the midfield. And I feel like in a few years, along with Hawthorn, Flagmantle could be a thing. And I'm excited to see what the future has for the Freo Dockers. And the unlucky team that's going to finish 9th place this year is the Gold Coast Suns. Just missing out on their first final series. But I feel like there's a lot of hope in the future for the Suns. Damien Hardwick, great coach up there. And as soon as they can fix their little issue with winning away, I feel like they could really spring up into the finals. They've got some good young talent and a good experienced midfield. So I feel like they could shoot up the ladder soon in a couple years, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about them as contenders in 2027 or 2028. In 8th place, just scraping into the finals, I have the Essendon Bombers. Now, everyone knows that they're going to fall. They're in 2nd right now, which they're really overachieving. I feel like they've had a really easy draw so far. And I feel like playing Gold Coast at Gold Coast's home is going to be a real test for the Bombers to see if they're really contenders or just pretending. In 7th place, I have the Geelong Cats. I feel the last few rounds has been really telling, losing against first the D's, then the Power at home, and they got smashed by the Suns. They lost to the Giants at home and were very close to losing the game against Richmond at the Cattery. So, bit of a reality check for the Cats. I don't think you're a top 4 side. Get your act together, and maybe you can shoot up the ladder again to 4th or 5th. But I think having them in 7th is quite a safe bet because, yeah, they've been overachieving. The first 7 rounds, quite easy opponents, minus Carlton. That was a bit of an outlier. But, yeah, reality check for the Cats. I think they're going to finish in 7th. In 6th, I have Collingwood. They've been looking really good since they beat the Lions in round 3. And aside for a couple of draws and the loss against the Western Bulldogs, I feel like they're in a really good position to attack the finals again. Maybe not from the top 4, but from 6th, and having what I think would be a cracking elimination final against the Geelong Cats. Collingwood, they're going to finish 6th. They've been playing really well, but not just well enough to finish in the top 4 or even 5th. In 5th, I have Port Adelaide. Now, in my initial draft of this list, I had them 3rd, sometimes even 2nd, switching them around a bit. But after the loss to Carlton by 6 goals at Adelaide Oval, not good. Check yourself out, Port Adelaide. You really need to fix some stuff up. You're losing at home against Carlton. You were very close to losing against Hawthorn at home as well. So, bit of not panic stations yet down there, but, check yourself out and improve. You've got the bye coming up. Use that. In 4th, I have another team that I changed my mind on a little bit, and that's Carlton. I think the win against Port Adelaide was really impressive. They ran away in the final quarter. I feel like they can... Kerno, great forward, but also he can play defence quite well when it comes to it. Originally I had them 7th. The loss against the Swans was terrible, but I feel like that's a bit more demonstrative of how the Swans are doing than Carlton beating the Suns by convincing amount. I know the Suns are away, they have their issues with that. Still impressive and really impressive against Port Adelaide. So, Carlton, I rate you back up to 4th. In 3rd, I have the GWS Giants. They had a bit of a form slump, losing against the Swans, the Dogs, and the Bombers. But I feel like that win against the Cats was really what they needed going into the bye. And I feel like they can come out after the bye really strong and ready to make a late season push to the top 4, and they're really positioned to take on the finals from there and in a good position to potentially win their first ever flag. It's the middle of the season, so today I'm going to be predicting what the AFL ladder will look like at the end of the season. Who will be first? I think we all know who's last, though. Let's just get straight into it.